has been days, and I still don't know exactly how I feel. Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John, and I'm feeling very confused right now because it's time to review the 4th studio album Greatest Hits by the pop rock band Waterparks, and I say confusion because this album is kind of a polarizing train wreck. Train wreck doesn't always have to go to that extreme of, oh, they really dragged it to hell or else they sent it up to heaven because it was so avant-garde, because this album really splits its time between trying on some of their stronger suits, but also just Awsten Knight, their leader, fucking around with a MacBook in a dark closet somewhere. God, I didn't anticipate this review being so difficult for me, but I think the biggest thing that I've given Waterparks credit for in the past is something that I had to bring back into the equation now. Waterparks' music doesn't always hit you the first or second listen. You can roll your eyes and say, what the fuck, out loud, but then later you might come back and say, you know what, that's actually pretty damn catchy though. I found myself doing that not only with some of their songs on past albums like FANDOM and Double Dare, but now with the lead single, well, not technically the lead single, but the lead single that actually kicked off the actual phase of the rollout of the album, Snowglow. That track conjures up some really thought-provoking imagery as Awsten Knight brings up the fact that he's controlled by what other people want from him. Shake it like a snow globe, fuck my plans. It's such a well-written song. I was excited to embrace this new era because while it did sound very auto-tuned, very processed, you can't deny that the groove is there, the bass on that track is giving 110%, especially leading up to the hook. It's a song that remains catchy even if it is outside of the realms of what they would typically create. Pressing play on the album, a bit of a different story. I feel like everything's very convoluted, very colorful, but on and off the rails, so it makes it difficult to have a cemented feeling on, and maybe that's the goal, but good lord, Greatest Hits definitely plays out like a Greatest Hits album, in the sense that a normal one, you know, obviously an artist is gathering their entire catalog, putting together songs that didn't come from the same record. It's jumbled, it's messy, it's a lot of different puzzle pieces, and most of them don't exactly fit that well side by side. Look at it more like a mixtape, maybe you're having stronger feelings. And what do you know, I had a great idea. Let's recut this track list. There is a Spotify link in the description down below. I made a 9-song playlist that recuts the album, shaves it from 47 minutes down to 26, and I think it actually flows a whole lot better because not only did I remove a lot of songs, I also altered the track list flow a bit and I put Snow Globe first. So if you're curious, you want to hear that version of the album, then check out the link and see if you think I did it justice. The biggest problem that I have with Greatest Hits, outside of the fact that I wish the other band members, Jeff and Otto, were a lot more visible on these songs, in the mix, what have you, I think it's also that Awsten circles the drain with the exact same song structures, formula, and the things that he writes about, talking about how everybody hates the band and the fans don't really know him and everything behind the scenes is coming up, flaring up, and it makes for kinda boring songs, at least in that regard. The music, the melodies, and the programming are the 3 wild cards that made this album surprisingly more listenable the more I paid attention to those and the less that I focused on the lyrical content. Don't get your hopes up for me loving this album because I certainly don't, not even close to it. There are moments that I do think show their brilliance, at least in places, but there's also a ton in that second half in particular that drag this album down in major ways because Awsten Knight makes like Matty Healy of the 1975. He puts the ego on full display and says, you know what, my ideas are the best and me fucking around on my MacBook Pro is the best thing ever, and as a result of that, we get noises, sounds, and samples that I hope to God I never have to hear again. Greatest Hits gets off to a weak start with an unnecessary title track that drags its feet. Awsten talks about this crazy dream that he has, but it doesn't go anywhere. It goes straight into Fuzzy, and the album could have opened up on that note and I would have been none the wiser. To be quite frank, the only song that I like in the entire back half after You'd Be Paranoid 2 is Magnetic, and I still don't think that one's fantastic. I praise it for the fact that Awsten was able to work outside of the lines. He brought in some more electronic elements, and it actually felt like he had a reason for doing it, instead of just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what stuck. More positively speaking, I was quite throttled by tracks like American Graffiti that are very straight to the point, extremely catchy, well written, they're engaging, it feels like more of classic Waterparks. I dig the guitars on that tune, and I also love tracks like Fuzzy that go all over the map, but they never really lose you. I love that we can go from falsettos to wonky vocals to sugary highs that feel like chugging a gallon of Fun Dip and then spitting it out all over a song. You get all of that, but you also get a bridge that feels a lot like Owl City, and there is a surprising amount of Adam Young's DNA that feels like it's all over greatest hits. It's usually more of a good, but also occasionally a bad thing, but I find other tracks like You'd Be Paranoid Too to be pretty fun. I like what Awsten is talking about. It feels like there's somebody glaring over his shoulder and he just doesn't want to get out of bed some days. It also is counteracted by songs like Numb that are so fast, so in your face, they're just spitting fire right at you that you can't help but feel like, I kind of want to move, I kind of want to dance, but I also want to cry. That's kind of the one-trick pony or else the Trojan horse that works occasionally but not always. Awsten loves talking, singing fast. It almost comes out like a rap on something like Numb, and he attempts it on other songs. And Numb is really the only one where it feels like it's executed in a manner that I would come back to. Okay, I said some nice stuff, now let's talk about some stuff that's not so nice. Imagine taking a left hook directly square on the jaw from Floyd Mayweather only to be countered with a right hook from Mike Tyson. That is the back-to-back combination of fruit roll-ups and like it. Bro, seriously, what the fuck is fruit roll-ups? Did you guys look at the lyrics on this one? I'm a little bitch for you, yeah, I'm a little bitch for you now. This whole song is bullshit. It's trying to be romantic or else sedated or like, oh, don't mind me, I'm just the nice guy over here in the corner. And the appeal is not there. Are you writing this to a middle schooler in the year 2003? By the way, so many of the pop culture references on Greatest Hits are just terrible and cringeworthy. You're talking about gel pens on fruit roll-ups, and then on the final song on this album, See You in the Future, you have everything from the he said, she said bullshit of Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit to talking about Elon Musk and your other bandmates and all of these other things that sound like buzzwords for no good damn reason. Like It pretty much fucks itself into the ground right away. It opens with a sample of the Rock Sound publication magazine, just putting itself out there, inviting Waterparks on. Obviously, Parks have been on the cover of Rock Sound, Alt Press, all of those magazines more times than I can count on two hands, so the whole notion that everybody hates the band, it's already played out because you do have so many magazines that absolutely adore you, worship at your feet because of your fans. The song continues to raise the volume throughout. It almost feels like a situation where if I'm yelling louder, that means I'm winning the conversation. The mix is just a travesty. It feels like a cardinal sin because so many fucking things are just squeezed in there and they don't make sense, they don't sound good at all, and this song can just go fuck off in a hole. The closing trilogy of Ice Bath, Crying Over It All, and See You in the Future just doesn't make sense. It's like scrambled eggs that have been chopped up, burned, and then thrown into a trash can, and I'm supposed to sort it out? Finally, I guess I'll circle back to the song that started this whole era. It's low-key as hell, it's track 3 on the album. I did not like it initially. I thought I was pretty indifferent on it, and while I don't love the first half of the song, once we get to that final chorus, it's a bit of an irresistible earworm. I think it's really well done, at least in that regard. I'm gonna have to cut it off right there because thinking about this critically any longer is gonna give me a brain aneurysm. Waterparks made an extremely frustrating album that definitely has a stronger front half. The back half has moments that are so overly indulgent, it's not even funny. It can come across pretentious, it can come off monotonous, but there's also moments and flashes of brilliance. But for an album called Greatest Hits, ironically, I don't think any of these would land in my top 10. That took way too long to film, so thank you for watching my review. Drop a like on it and subscribe for the love of music. It was all just my opinion, and if you want to hear my thoughts on other Waterparks albums, then you can tap these cards on screen right now. All of my socials, including my Patreon, if you want to help fund the channel, those are in the top link in the description, and I'll be back soon for more right here on ARTV.